Welcome to this lab on analysing movie sales data with SQL. My name's Keith Laker. I am your host for this lab, and hopefully you've arrived at this lab having provisioned your autonomous data warehouse. You've loaded the data with the labs that Mike did, and you're now ready to get started with SQL. So the good news is everything you need is already inside your autonomous data warehouse. You're ready to go, and what we're going to show you in this particular lab is some specific SQL features. We're going to start at a very basic level, how to join data sets together. You're then going to look at how to extend that knowledge and add some calculations in. And then we're going to show you how to effectively create lots of calculations at the same time and do a very sophisticated technique called binning. But don't worry, we're going to explain it all to you. What you'll see as you walk through this lab is, firstly, SQL is pretty simple. It's easy to understand language, but it's very rich. And as you go through this lab, as we sort of pick through the layers of this lab, you'll see that you've got access to a very, very sophisticated language to help you solve real-world business problems. So you're going to explore a lot of the capabilities of SQL. What you'll notice is your queries run really, really fast in Autonomous Data Warehouse. That's because we've got a lot of built-in performance optimizations that happen behind the scenes. One of those optimizations will give you a sneak peek into, which is called result cache. You'll have a quick look at that as part of this lab. We'll then get into how you bring together different data sets, and in effect how you do joins using SQL, and we'll step into that. We'll also look at how you can take queries and join queries together using something called the with clause. What you'll notice as you walk through this lab is essentially it's a whole series of building blocks. As you move from each step to the next one, we're taking that knowledge that you've just acquired and extending it by adding additional features in. And everything that you learn in the SQL lab, you're actually going to take a lot of this knowledge and use it in the next lab, which deals with semi-structured or JSON data. So this is a good starting point. Okay, your data set. So you loaded some data in the previous labs, or maybe you jumped straight into this lab and you used the little package that we have which loads all the data automatically for you. But essentially what you've got is a model inside your data. And that model is made up of obviously sales data that comes from 4 key elements. So the first element we'll look at, say, is a customer. So a customer will come in to our platform and maybe they'll look for a genre, say thriller, and they'll find all the movies that belong to the genre thriller. And then they'll decide to rent that movie, and that gives us a timestamp. We can bring all of that data together to log that as a customer sale for a thriller movie on a particular day for that customer. Now, how we access all of those elements is driven by the type of join that we do on those 5 tables. And we can either do simple joins, whereby, for example, we might filter on thriller and only show me the movies that are thrillers. And that's a typical type of join. Most of the joins that you do with SQL are that type of join. So if a movie's not a thriller, you don't see it. However, there are times when I actually do need to see instances where in the main, what we call the dimension, for this, let's take an example of the time aspect, where maybe I don't have a sale on a particular day. And that would be useful to know. And to get that level of detail where I have all of my time elements and I can see the sales by time, and I can also see the days or the months or the quarters where I don't make a sale, I create what's called an outer join, because for those days there would be no record of customer sales. So we're going to walk you through these different types of joins that you can do, and you'll see the different types of output that they generate and how and when to use those different types of joins. Having understood that concept, we can then move forward to start analysing our data. So now we want to do some aggregations. So we don't sort of want to be at the customer level. We want to start aggregating this up, maybe by quarter, maybe look at genres by quarter. So we need to do what's called a sum operation. And to help with some of the formatting, we'll use a round function. And you can see you can nest these functions. So I've got round followed by sum. When I'm doing some of these operations, I also maybe want to compare two different, in this case, points in time, i.e. what I sold this current year versus what I sold in the previous year, and be able to understand where I've increased my sales in the current year versus the previous year. To do that, your Autonomous Data Warehouse has things called window functions. And in this case, you're going to work with something called the lag function. We'll walk you through all of the code that does all that as part of the lab. And then the last step is you're going to look at, having done joins of data sets, actually you can do joins of queries. And to do that, where I've got multiple types of queries, I use a with clause. And to do this, we're going to use it on a typical retail business problem. We want to understand who our most important customers are. And there's a particular type of query that does that. It's called an RFM query. And the RFM stands for recency, frequency, monetary. I want to understand who are the customers accessing my system. When did they last access the MovieStream platform? That would be the recency. I want to know what level of activity they have on my movie streaming platform, i.e. the frequency. And most importantly, I want to know how much money they're spending on the platform renting movies. So we look at the monetary aspect, and we create these three queries and join them all together to be able to identify our most important customers. And we do that with something called the with clause. And we'll walk you through that. At the end, what you should see is you've been through a lot of queries. They've built up very nicely. You can see that, most importantly, SQL is a very easy language to understand. It's very fast in Autonomous Data Warehouse because of all the optimizations that are happening behind the scenes to automatically make sure that your data runs, or your queries run, as fast as possible. And also you've got access to a lot of very smart functions that help you answer real-world business problems. If this has whetted your appetite, maybe you want to go a bit deeper into SQL, see what other business problems you can solve. We have a huge library of videos that walk you through how to use SQL to solve different business problems. And our SQL experts like Connor McDonald and Chris Saxon have got lots of great examples here on this site. It's all free. Use these and you'll be able to go even further with SQL. And that's it. It's a wrap. I've been your host, Keith Laker. I hope you enjoy working with SQL in this lab, analysing your movie sales data. Have a great time, and thank you very much for listening.